My God. Freaking intro about blew my damn eardrums out. Didn't realize how loud I had my volume up. Hey, welcome to the live. I'm going to be talking a little bit about addiction tonight. I appreciate anybody that's watching. Um, whether or not people are actually watching live doesn't matter. This is really, recording it for later. I like to do things live because to me, it's a bit more honest. I don't have a chance to re-record this stuff. So, when I'm talking about stuff, a lot of times it's on the fly, top of my head. I do have a lot of stuff that I write down, but a lot of times I'm just kind of going with the flow. That's how I like to talk, how I like to chat. I like to go where my mind takes me. I got the ADD, so I go bing, 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 bing. Anyway, I appreciate anybody who's taken the time to watch over the years. I wanted to start this. One of my big main goals is to start an addiction awareness podcast that I'm going to be doing with my cousin, hopefully soon. Hopefully, and try to help people who have struggled with addiction, and let them know that there's hope, after addiction. If you can get into recovery, and let maybe that there's options available. Other people, hear other people's stories, and maybe you can relate to somebody, because that's what happened with me. I've been coming across videos, and I started, one day I caught something that made me see a little bit of light. And sometimes when you're in the depths of darkness, all you need is a little tiny, glimmer of light to help you, start to find the rope to pull yourself out of that crap. So, that's part of the reason why I'm doing this. So I'm going to give a little bit of my backstory. It's honestly kind of nerve-wracking. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I've suffered with anxiety my entire life, social anxiety disorder. All kinds of, been diagnosed with major depression. So, like, when I'm speaking about mental health stuff, when I'm speaking about medications and stuff that have happened to me, like, it's from personal experience. I'm not making this stuff up. You know what I mean? I'm not, I've lived it. I've lived with mental health issues since I was a child. I experienced quite a bit of trauma, and, I've come to terms with that. I don't blame anybody, you know what I mean? But things happen, and you have to be the one that learns to live with those things that happen. And you have to be able to find a way to not only to cope, but to, find happiness in your life. And my choice throughout a lot of my history has been to escape. And, I've been addicted to everything, video games, pretty much literally been addicted to everything. Everything I touch, I end up being addicted to. It's like, impulsive, or whatever you want to call it. It's, there's an actual name. I mean, people call, addiction a disease. And for people who have experienced a lot of trauma, addiction really can be a disease. You become quite literally addicted to everything. It could be sex, it could be video games, it could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be, anything under the sun, you know what I mean, that's not good for you. But, that's part of the reason I'm here, is to talk about this stuff. But so, over time, I started out being basically addicted to video games. That's been my escape forever. I love it. Don't get me wrong, I see no harm in obviously playing games, because I still do. I still play games to escape. You know what I mean? As long as you're doing things in moderation to the point where it's not overtaking your entire life and that's all you're doing, that's all that really matters. But, some addictions are worse than others. So I had a couple of questions that I had somebody write down for me that I wanted to answer. I'm not going to do a whole super long podcast today. I'm going to do this in sections. I'm going to do probably maybe 20 minutes here, 20 minutes next week, and I'm just going to keep doing, going on with this series, if you will. So somebody asked me, what initially led me down the path of addiction? So what led you down the path of addiction? So this is really hard to say. Looking back at my life, I can honestly say that I've been addicted to one thing or after another, just like I said. Most likely, due to the childhood trauma that I faced. I started, I'm going to give it like the easiest path I can come up with here. I started drinking when I was 16, which was about 2002, 2003, and pretty much drank heavily up until 2015. I used to call myself a high-functioning alcoholic. So, that's what a lot of alcoholics say. I'm a high-functioning alcoholic, but the truth is I needed to drink to do anything. I would drink, that was the only way that I could have fun, is by drinking. And even now, to this day, I struggle in social situations and stuff like that, because, like, I don't honestly know how to, let this person out, if you will. And that's the one of the reasons I was so addicted to alcohol, is because it let this person I feel like I have locked inside of me out. All these fears I have in social situations, they disappeared. I'm starting to get way better at it. I'm not, obviously, I'm doing a freaking live stream right now. So, you know what I mean? Obviously, I'm doing a bit better in that regard. But, I always felt like alcohol actually unlocked me. And that's why I can't, I know that I can't just go have a drink. I'm not a weekend guy. I'm not a dude that can go, have a beer on the weekends. It's just not me. I'm an all or nothing. I'm every day or not. You know what I mean? And some people can. Some people can control alcohol. Some people can't. Some people control doing cocaine, for example. Some people can't. It's all a matter of you as a person, right? But so that's my history on alcohol. So up until about 20 2014, I was able to control my alcohol addiction pretty well. And then in 2014, we lost our daughter to a heart defect at 4 days old. And I lost control not only over that, but I started abusing pills heavily, Percocet, Vicodin. Then I started taking freaking Adderall. And then, it spiraled on down from there. Then after that, I moved on to methamphetamines and then even heroin. It's like, I'm sitting here before you and I've been addicted to just about every horrific thing you can think of. And I've managed to come out of this and managed to rebuild my life. And I'm living proof that you can change, you can, conquer these addictions that a lot of people don't make it out of. And I recognize that a lot of people do not make it out of being addicted to meth or heroin or anything like that. And honestly, to tell you the truth, I'm ashamed of it. I've been ashamed that I was addicted to these things. I feel like I, let my kids down, let my family down, let everybody down because I was weak enough to succumb to this. But the fact is, I've had a lot of time to think, and I was trying to kill a pain inside of me that I wasn't ready to face. And that's what the truth behind addiction is that you're trying to escape or kill a pain that's inside of you. There's a proverb about, it's an African proverb about suicide, for example. If you want if you want to kill yourself, throw yourself into the sea. You'll see that your body will fight to survive. It's not you that you want to kill. It's something inside of you that you want to kill. And that's whenever I heard that, I'm like, that fits so perfectly. It's crazy, but that's the truth. After my brother came up with this name Reflections, and I love it because it fits so perfectly. I've spent, a lifetime now, what it seems like, reflecting in my life and truly trying to understand why I am the way that I am. That's why I started to, taking courses in psychology. Is to try to unravel my brain. You know what I mean? That's really part of the real reason there. But um, excuse me, we get a drink of water here. But I've recognized, over time that why I did the things that I did. And honestly, losing my daughter devastated me to a point where I didn't want to live anymore, but I still chose to go on. I still chose to do these things. Um, so once I got to the heroin and the meth, that my life spiraled downhill really, really fast, like quick. The other things you can almost manage. You can go to work while taking pills. You can go to work while taking Adderall. Like once you start doing heroin and meth, like your life, you turn into somebody else. And um, basically, I ended up losing everything. So, what were one of this other question is, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced during your addiction? Spending all my money on drugs, losing places to live, not being able to hold a job, losing the trust of those around me because I lied, not being a good parent. I was not a good parent to my kids. I unfortunately drug them through what I thought that I would, I never wanted to be like my parents were when I was a kid. And I spent my life, I'm like, I'm not going to be like these people. I'm not going to be like my uncle. I'm not going to be like my aunts. And I ended up becoming those people. And honestly, now I've turned my life around and made a change, but there's a period of time that I can't get back, that I chose to be this other person. I chose to allow the drugs to control my life. You know what I mean? So So that was that one. So what was the another question is what was your turning point, the moment you decided to seek help? So when it became clear that I was going to lose my kids and my life if I didn't. So in a nutshell, they don't know this, but when the thing came on the table that I was going to lose custody of my kids over this, which honestly speaking, I can't blame anybody for threatening that because at the time I deserved it. And as soon as that became an option or that came up to play, that's when I was like, hey, I called, my family. I called my sister. I told her I needed help. And immediately, you know, my sister helped me out and did everything that she possibly could to help me and or to help me along this path. We ended up going to seeking medical assisted therapy, which is basically you go to a methadone clinic and then you go to counseling while you're going to these places. And without that, I wouldn't be where I am today, if I'm being honest. But I quickly realized when you go to these places that they want you to be a customer with them forever. Like a lot of people never get off of methadone. You're just, you know, I'm not gonna say that it's a bad thing, because some people need that. Some people need that in their life to where they don't go backwards. But for me, I didn't want to stay on it forever. And it seemed like the clinics that I was going to wanted me to stay on there because obviously you're a customer to them, right? That's ultimately what it is. I was worth whatever, how much, $1,500 a month or something, probably even more than that. Probably a ridiculous amount more than that. But anyway, so let's see. Yeah, we were also at that time, we were on the verge of being evicted and had nowhere to go. So that was one of the other reasons I started to seek help. But like that one, so I got off heroin pretty easily, but it was the meth, honestly, that was much harder to get off because you can almost function on that, not necessarily, but like that was a bit more, took a bit more time. What specific types of treatment or support systems you help? I talked about going to the methadone clinic. That honestly helped a lot. Um, took me quite. It was a lot harder to get off that than it was almost anything, honestly, because that stuff has like the worst withdrawals ever. But nonetheless, I digress. Another question here is what gives you hope and strength in your recovery journey? So, when I decided to quit and develop the drive to rebuild my life, I found a strength that I didn't really know I had. So, when you face your darkest moment, like that was honestly when I had nowhere to go, no place to live. I had burned all my bridges, was living in a hotel, and, I'd started going back to work again, but it's if you're paying for a hotel every night working it, it's going to take you a long time to get where you need to be. But I was determined and I was going to do that. You know what I mean? And it luckily my sister let me live on a trailer on her lawn. Otherwise, I would never have been able. I probably would still be stuck. I would have eventually made it out, but it would have taken me a lot longer. You know what I mean? But it was at that point that I was actually fully done with everything. I had been clean, but my time at the place I was at had been running out. I was staying with people who didn't necessarily want me to be there. I hadn't been paying them rent. I was kind of a piece of crap, I'm being honest. And they have no idea how much I'm, thankful to them for giving me that opportunity to stay there. But, I burned that bridge, and that's something that I've had to come to terms with. That's just crazy thinking about this, but I remember again when I was finally evicted out of that place and we were staying in a hotel. That was my darkest moment, and the moment I was like, what am I gonna do? Like backed into a corner, and honestly, that gave me the drive. There was never going to be a point where I'm going to ever allow myself to get back to that point. Nothing. I'm never going to feel that helpless again. I'm never going to feel that weak again. It's never going to happen. And that's been the thing that's driven me is again, I will never ever allow myself to go through that again or allow me to take any, my family go regardless of what I go through in my life. And at that point, I actually found this book. I came across this book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, and it started a spiritual belief in me that I didn't realize was there. And I started finding strength in God, not through religion, but through spirituality. I realized when I was reading the book about the subconscious mind, how to start breaking patterns in your life, and how a lot of the things that happen to you, all these repeating patterns that you have, are based on your ways of thinking, and they can be broken. And since I've started putting this stuff into practice, the idea that I had bad luck or all that crap has gone away. You don't have bad luck. Your bad luck is the result of your terrible choices that you've been making. You know what I mean? um Not necessarily a blanket statement for everybody, because obviously nothing's ever going to be the same for absolutely everybody. But for me, in my experience and my personal journey, that has been the case. And I've been able to unravel problems in my life and conquer that. Another book that, again, I've been obsessed with, I've talked about it in almost every single one of my podcasts, is The Law of One. When I found this, it changed my entire life. It changed my outlook on life. It changed what I believe. It changed, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like a light, came on in me. But it's a conversation for another day and another whole video probably. Man, this time has flown by. But hopefully I answered your questions, my friend who made that right there. Let me see if there's any more before I jump off here. So yeah, I would say that the things that give me strength is definitely God, but not from the confines of religion. And I say that a lot. I 100% believe in God. I 100% believe that that gives me strength to get through a lot of what I'm going through. I just don't confine myself to religious beliefs because it's just me. I don't, blame anybody for doing that. I think that if you need that to help you get through, you need that to help you get through. Um, but for me, there's been a lot of people in my life that have worried that I'm going to slip backwards and go back onto the drugs and things like that. And honestly, there is nothing in this world that would ever drag me back to that. Like, that's the truth. I've done so much self work, and honestly, I don't hate myself like I used to. I've tried to heal my traumas and tried to forgive, and that's what keeps people trapped. I want you to remember this 100%. If you remember nothing else from this, is forgiveness. Forgiveness is what is keeping you trapped where you are. If you're wondering why you can't progress, why you can't, change your life in meaningful ways, and you're holding on to resentment, anger, you need to forgive. You need to let go of this past that you're carrying around with you that you don't have to carry. The only thing that matters is here and now and what is right in front of you. That's all we have. That's what we have, is this moment in time. Nothing else. That's the key. What the Buddhists are trying to say. That's all we have is this moment. If there's nothing else that you remember from this, forgiveness. Like, I preach about mental health all the time, and if you need to go, like, the fact that you need to go talk to somebody, it's super important to go talk to somebody, to watch things that make you think and question the world around you, to seek a higher power. I have friends that are atheists, and that is fine too. That doesn't, it doesn't make any difference to me what anybody believes. But it's important to seek out and talk to somebody about stuff. Don't keep this crap on the inside, because when you keep it on the inside, it festers and it starts to manifest in your life in so many different unhealthy ways. And the fact is, we need to communicate our feelings. We need to communicate this stuff, especially guys out here. You need to talk to people about what's going on inside you. You need to practice forgiveness. You need to cry every once in a while, bro. Let this stuff out. But anyway, I'm about out of time here, my friends. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I appreciate anybody who takes the time to watch this. Many, many blessings coming your way. This is JB333 signing off.